Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show how I painted this polar bear in acrylics. Now as always I do like to start with the eyes, and the eyes of this animal in relation to the size of their body are actually quite small. So for this 8x10 sized painting I did need to be realistic with how much detail I could include. So my general go-to approach for something like this is to make sure that I've got the shape right. I want to hint at the main sets of highlights if there are any, and of course try to capture any iris colour if that is visible. Now if the eye is quite dark, then I just want to focus more on getting the contrast right. Now this will really help with capturing more realism, but if there is a stronger one-sided light source and the highlights are lighter on one side or the shadows are darker on one side, then I do want to make sure that I've captured that. Now when it came to painting the fur, this animal has exceptionally thick, dense fur, so I wanted to make sure that I've captured that, and I do feel that it starts from the base layer. Now one of my biggest focuses at this point with any painting is to get the base layer fairly well blended. I don't want there to be any harsh start and stop points between the lights and the darks. You can see that as I'm building up this colour, I'm blending it in as I go. Now the other thing that I do like to capture here is a range of values. I don't ever paint one solid colour across the entire base layer. If I can pinpoint more of the highlights, midtones and shadows at this stage, then I'm going to end up with a base layer that's already looking fairly realistic. Now I do feel that this helps when we start painting the details. Now in order to work with a soft blend here, I do have to work with wet and wet blending techniques, either by keeping the paint wet by using a fine mist spray bottle or blending the paint in here before it has a chance to dry. Now working on larger areas, a fine mist spray bottle is one of my must-have tools. By applying a light layer of water over the top, we can keep that paint wet for hours if needed. Now the real-time version of this tutorial really does cover all aspects of blending layers such as this to create something that has that real unique softness early on. If this video is of interest, then I'll link the full-length tutorial in the description below. Now as I build up more of my layers, this is where I'm going to still continue to tidy up that base foundation. One of the biggest mistakes I feel is that the details are added too soon. If I want to capture a little bit more softness, I'll work with more of my base layer. Now even at this very first stage of the painting, I'm paying very close attention to my reference photo in terms of the placement of the highlights and shadows. Now this for me is something that I feel makes a big difference because this is helping to identify that shape and form of the subject. Now the highlights and shadows in their placement is never random, so it does follow the underlying bone and muscular structure. So for example, the highlight above the eye, that's indicating at the eye socket. The highlight at the very edge of this section I'm currently painting is where the skull shape starts to curve away and then join on to the ear. So every part of this I want to try to make sure I've got accurate. Now I've got my base foundation in place, I can start to work on the next stage of this painting, and that is starting to map in some fur texture and reinforce the fur direction. Now just like the placement of the highlights and shadows, the fur direction is not random. This also follows the underlying bone and muscular structure. Now one thing you'll notice at this stage is that my paint I'm currently using is a little bit lighter than the foundation that I started with, and this is really crucial. If the base layer is too light, then as we start to build in these details, they might not show up, or potentially the painting's going to end up far too light overall. The contrast is therefore going to be lacking. And as I continue to build my layers, you'll notice that it again gets gradually lighter with each stage. Now one of the other advantages of working with acrylics is that we can go back to our darker layers and we can keep on building these layers as much as we need. So if I feel like I needed to darken my layers, which you can see I've come back to do here, then I can do that without any problems at all. I can then come back in with some more of my lighter values, and this just helps to add a little bit more of that dense feel to the fur. Now one crucial aspect when painting this kind of fur texture is the layers do need to be soft. At the moment, at this stage, everything is too harsh, but that's okay. The more layers I add in here, the more of that softness will be achieved. Now one thing that you'll notice in the next couple of minutes is that I do actually end up painting over some parts of this area of the fur. Because as I started to work on the other side of the face, I was adapting the brush technique as I went. And I actually preferred the look of the fur on the other side. It was softer earlier on in that process, and I did come back and make changes to this side. Now, mistakes like this, I don't really class them as mistakes because it's all enhancing the depth. These layers here, there's no real error at all, but it does actually give us more information for future projects of the same fur texture. So next time I'll know that I won't have to do as much with the small round brush that you saw previously, and I can come straight back in with more of the softening techniques without having to capture as much of that smaller clumped fur. So it's at this stage here where you can see that I am actually painting over quite a lot of that. I'm re-establishing more of my darker values so that I can then enhance more of the softness in the next couple of stages. Now, as I've said, I don't find that this is a problem at all. It did extend the painting process more so than I initially anticipated, but I was happier with the end result. So this is something that I feel was incredibly worthwhile. Now, as I've mentioned, I do not ever cut any sections out of my real-time tutorials. Everything is explained in the moment, and I'm able to make sure then that I can show from start to finish any mistakes, what techniques work, what I feel I could change with that additional layering process or tweak of a brush technique. And this stage here is just a great example of that. Now, as I start to come back in now and reinforce more of my values, I'm going to be following that same process. I'm going to be working with very gradual layers and enhancing those lighter values in small stages. I don't want to be jumping to my brightest highlights too soon because then I'm going to miss out on all this crucial softness. Now, the mid stages here, those mid-tones as I've mentioned, I feel that this is where the layering process can sometimes get skipped over. We may be more tempted to jump into those brighter highlights. Now, although this is the lighter layers of paint, it's still not yet those brightest values. I'll be coming in towards more of the end of the painting and adding a little bit more brightness to that. So this is lighter, but I have built up many stages prior to this layer. So here, for example, I've lightened that mix yet again, and now I'm adding in more of my brightest highlights. Now, if I didn't have those mid-tones in between the stages prior, then these highlights are going to look far too harsh. They won't have the softness. So this is why building up gradually here for this specific fur texture has been really important. Now, moving on to the nose, and I approach this in exactly the same way I would any other nose. So first of all, I'm mapping in the nostrils. I want to make sure that I've got the shape and size of that correct, and that the placement is also right. Now, if the nose and the nostril placement is incorrect, even someone who doesn't have a copy of the reference photo can usually tell if there is something that's not quite right. So this is why this is always where I begin. Now, once I was happy with that, I can start to work on my base foundation. Now, just like when I work with painting the fur, here I want to be making sure that I'm mapping in my lights and my darks and that my base layer is soft and a little bit more blended. Now, I don't want to be jumping into my brightest highlights here either. I want to be building this up and enhancing those values, trying to capture as much realism as I can. Now, depending on the size of the painting, if the nose is smaller, I need to be realistic with what I can include. But because the nose of this polar bear is far bigger than the eyes, I knew I was able to add a little bit more variation here. So where the nostrils curve over, here I'm going to start to indicate more at that shading. This eventually is going to capture more of that look, like the nostrils roll over to the flat front side of the nose. Now, softness, when I'm working with this approach, is something that I do feel makes painting noses easier. I don't want any harsh start and stop points because the nose can then look more two-dimensional. And then from there, of course, it's starting to map in the base layer of the fur around it. Now, one of the key priorities here is to make sure that I don't extend my brush strokes too much. This is still my base foundation. There shouldn't be any detail visible. But when I do come to adding in the detail, the fur here on this animal, like many different animals, is usually much shorter. So this is something that we'll be covering when I start working with the details. So even at this stage, as I'm starting to map in that initial texture, this is where I need to consider the length of my brush strokes. The other thing I'm also noticing here is how much pressure I should be applying to the brush. This has been a factor throughout all of the detailed process. If too much pressure is applied to any brush, the brushstroke is going to be too thick. So I want to be making sure that I've got the balance of the movement of the brush, the pressure on the brush, and how long that brush is in contact with that surface just right. And of course, this will need to be adjusted potentially from 1 square inch to the next. Now, when there is an area of the fur that almost looks like it's going away from the camera, such as the side of the muzzle there, we may not actually see any length of brushstrokes at all. It may be more about blending and shading in order to capture that. If the brushstrokes there are too long, we'll actually make that fur look like it comes out at the sides, more like potentially a cockapoo type fur texture, where it's more ruffled up. So this is where we need to make sure that we're not adding too much detail where it's not needed. In many situations, more detail is not the answer. It could actually affect the level of realism. So I want to be making sure that if I'm working from a good quality reference photo, if I can't see any detail in one area, but it's more visible in another section, that I work out why that is. Is it because that fur there is more dense, more thick, and therefore the details are not as visible? Is it that that part of the reference photo is drifting further away from the camera, such as the sides of that mouth area? So this is definitely something that we need to be thinking about when looking at that photo. Now, one aspect of the painting process I haven't mentioned yet is the use of glazes, which is what I'm currently doing here. So a glaze can be used for a range of effects, but I like to use them primarily for adjusting the fur colour very easily. I do have a video here on YouTube where I'm talking all about glazes, and I'm showing different painting examples of how glazes can be used to add softness, to adjust contrast, colour, and so on. So if that video is of interest, I'll link that in the description below. But you can see here for this specific area of the painting, I've added in a little bit more of a yellower tint, and I'm going to be showing this glazing process more so towards the end of this video. It really does make a difference to the fur. But one of the wonderful things about working with acrylics is we don't have to worry about mixing the exact colour at each layer. We can do that separately. But one of the biggest tips here when working with glazes that I can give is we do have to make sure that the layers underneath are completely dry before a glaze is applied. Otherwise that glaze will mix in with the wet paint underneath and the glaze won't work at all. But again, this is something that I do cover thoroughly in that glazing video. Now, the very last stage of this painting is, of course, the body. Now, for this, I needed to revert back to more of my blending techniques to make sure that my base layer was nice and soft. I'm making sure to hint again at the main lights and darks, but the exact colour is not anything to worry about. Now, as I start to build in more of my softness here, you can see that already I'm getting the impression of how the fur is going to have the thickness, that dense look. Now, without this soft initial base foundation, I think the details that we're adding on top at this stage would then start to look wiry. The polar bear would take on a very different fur texture. So definitely this process here of a base foundation is something that I really would recommend. Now, all of the tips that I've given so far up to this point would still apply here, working with multiple layers and gradually increasing the values, making sure to not jump into those brightest highlights. But I also am really studying the changes in the fur direction. Because of how the fur moves here, this is going to help to indicate at the position of the front legs. I want to be making sure that as it curves down towards this central V shape, that I have that accurate. If the brush strokes here are too vertical or horizontal, I'm going to either make this section of the body look too tall or too wide. I want to have more of this curvature to the centre. So the brush strokes, the flow, the direction, the thickness, everything here is really important. Now, when working with glazes, you can apply those at any stages, as long as I say, you do make sure the layers underneath are dry. If you feel like you need to adjust the colour more frequently between the layers of values that we're adding, then you're absolutely fine to do that. There's no limit on the number of glazes that you can use. The other thing to consider with that though is how thick you need your glaze. So if you're wanting lots of your details to show through, then your glaze needs to be thinner in order to make that mix more transparent. The thicker the glaze, the more of those details you might potentially hide. Now, because I knew that this area on the chest had quite a strong yellow tint, I needed to make sure that my layers underneath were light enough to cope with that glaze, so that when I added that glaze, these highlights didn't disappear. So I'm going to continue to build up my values here, then dry the painting and work with the glazes to then adjust the colour. And this is where I really start to be bold with the glaze that I'm using. Now, you saw there a brief section of that paper towel, and that's because I didn't want to have too much of the glaze all of a sudden. So you do have the option here of adding the same glaze repeatedly, as long as the glaze layer first of all is dry. Now, there are times where I do add glazes on top of an existing wet glaze if I need to adjust that colour in the moment, but if I'm trying to build up the intensity of that colour that I've mixed, if I like that colour and I just want to establish that more, then I'll wait for the first layer of glaze to dry and then add that again. That will help to give a little bit more of that glow, which in this situation is exactly what I needed. So you can see here, this yellow now looks a little bit more intense because I've used that process. Now, the other thing you'll see is as I am adding this, it's also giving a little bit more softness. It's adding a bit of a transition colour in between the highlight and some of those darker values. But again, this is something that I do cover more thoroughly in that glazing video. Now, quite often when I am working with initial glazes like that, I will come back in and add more highlights before potentially adding in another glaze. This is because usually I like to finish with a highlighted layer of details rather than a glaze. This isn't always the case, there's no set rule, but if I do feel like that glaze has just toned down some of those top highlights, then I can always come back in and add those over the top. If that colour then is a little bit too pale, I can then work with an even thinner glaze to adjust that yet again. Now, one of the last layers that usually goes on my painting are the whiskers, but this polar bear didn't have any whiskers, so I didn't have to worry about that. So here I can continue to refine that highlight, the contrast, and adjust the colour. Now, these last few minutes spent on a painting are really worthwhile, but sometimes when we've been working on one painting for a while, we can get a little bit sort of blinded by what we need to adjust. So putting that painting away for a day or two and then looking at it with fresh eyes is a really useful way of assessing what then needs to be tweaked. If we don't feel like there's any adjustments that do need to be made, that's when I would usually then call it finished. So I do hope this video has been useful. If it was, I'd be very grateful if you could give it a like and a thumbs up. It makes a huge difference to my channel. I do also upload a couple of videos to YouTube every week, so if you would like to get notified of that content, then don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell button. If you'd like to paint along to the real-time version of this polar bear tutorial, then I'll link all of the information to that in the description below. If you have any art-related questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. I'm always happy to help if I can. And I'm going to be uploading another video next week, but as always, thank you so much for watching.